music.
We got music. We're only 15 minutes late. It's all right. Fine.
Rock and roll is always a little bit late, but when it shows up, it's awesome.
That's exactly it.
Right? Yeah.
I'm going to get my notes together. I took notes.
Oh.
Sort of.
All good. All good. Hey, everybody. How's it going?
There we are. We are live, my friends.
Oh my
Everybody, how we doing? We've worked out the tech, and here we are. What's happening? I know. Well, we've added somebody. It's the Sunday non-football edition of the Kids on the Escalator podcast. For anybody that is out there in that wants to nerd out with us for a little while, we are live on all these platforms like crazy. I am in a booth across the street from my house. That's Mike Pongrass. That's Chris Bichetti.
Hello.
And we got the birthday boy, Todd Kerns.
Hey, woo!
You may never get rid of me now.
I'm okay with that. Love the Van Halen warning there too.
The Van Halen and the Stormtrooper.
Yes, that went together well. The fair warning and then the guitar right behind you, man.
With a Hunter S. Thompson style.
Nice.
Beautiful. Yeah, that is an awesome collection behind you there, buddy. We were just discussing it before we went live here with you got the Gene Simmons axe back there, you got the Eddie Van Halen, the Frankenstein. Oh,
Paul McCartney's here.
I was gonna say the Paul McCartney as well.
Johnny Ramone. That's the Johnny Ramone Mosrite copy. It's not a real thing, but yeah, it's an interesting state of development going on in here. That's for sure.
That's a beautiful collection, my friend. Totally caught.
Oh, thank you.
The Eddie, the Frankenstein, of course, caught my eye right away. We talked about it last week or a couple weeks ago about Eddie passing, sadly, and that just the image of that guitar is just, you know what I mean? Boom. He left so many cool visuals.
And the fact that he just created the entire thing himself, everything from like pickups to the entire, it was like he just put tape over his guitar, painted it this color, then he taped it that way, painted it. It was like he was just on a completely other level, that guy, as a player and as a guitar aficionado.
Right. Yeah. And legend has it that when you picked up that guitar and turned the volume knob on, the original one was like a bucking bronco, right? Like, but he could contain it. I was kind of akinning him to Jimi Hendrix that way, back before technology, when you just made it your own way and you could control it, right? I think it was Ted Nugent maybe or somebody that said that he picked up the guitar, he was just like, I can't do anything with this, right? But yeah, that's cool. Really cool. It is such a great story for the guy. Yeah.
I was saying, not to get too long-winded about it, but there's, when you really think about Ed, when there was Les Pauls and hollow bodies and Strats and Telecasters, Ed came along and, gutted a Strat-shaped body, put that humbucker in it, put a bar on it, and then every company in the world copied that thing for like 20, 25 years, just like Hamer, Kramer, Jackson, Charvel, to the point that it was killing companies like Gibson and Fender. Fender had to play ball. They could kind of easily put some double coils in our, and that says a lot about the guy. Not only was he as a player changing the game, but the actual guitar he built defined what you should play now. And it was like, it wasn't until Slash or guys like that the Les Paul kind of came back.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Slash's tone's great. Yeah, Eddie was like a mad scientist and a musician.
He was.
It was just so amazing, dude. Yeah,
absolutely.
Totally agree. Yeah. Cheers to Eddie. Yeah. Absolutely.
Cheers to Eddie, always.
And Todd, thanks for making the time on your birthday weekend, dude. Rad. Awesome. We are here to chat Mandalorian. When we posted about all the Mandalorian stuff this past week, Todd's like, oh, I love me some Mando.
That's good.
We're like, well, you got to come on the show and talk about it. Now, listen, Todd, you've missed the last couple of weeks. We've had a running kind of thing going where the guys predict something and it comes true, and both of them have been right. But I was
really.
I was right this weekend. I called for more.
Brent.
I was called for more Boba Fett, and I called for more Dark Troopers. Then guess what?
Yeah.
Wow.
The whole episode. So I get one out of all of these episodes. I get one. The other guys will fight over the rest.
Because I thought Boba Fett wasn't going to be back until the end of the season.
That's what I said. Yeah.
Yeah, we both did, Mike, right? So we lose that.
Yeah.
So we're back, and we're breaking it down. And we just did an episode on Thursday, but this was such a killer episode that we wanted to kind of just bang it out and get into it and dive in. So without further ado, we've got a couple of segments that we do, but Todd, we're going to, you're the birthday boy, you're the guest. Go. Give us your thoughts on this new episode.
It's okay. Let's put aside the next 2 hours. Here we go.
That's what I always say, dude. That is what I say every time they ask me to talk. I'm like, oh man, like, come on, really?
It's tough, man, because I gotta say, I was talking about it yesterday when I finally saw my friends, and they hadn't seen it, so it drives you crazy. I can't talk about this. It's like the pinnacle episode of the entire 2 seasons, as far as I'm concerned. When as soon as I don't want to spoiler too much, but as soon as the reveal of him coming, and then the reveal in the armor, you're like, what? It's just, I like once in a while, when it comes to music and when it comes to things like this, that someone like Favreau got a letter from me when I was 9 years old. Hey, in 30 years from now, or 40 years from now, or I guess it might be longer than that, could you make these? Because this would be great. We would really like to see that, And this entire Mandalorian experience has just been this sort of, because I think like a lot of the invested guys, I go through my periods of like standing at on a soapbox complaining about whichever film I'd just seen, like, this is nonsense. And your friends are all like, whatever, bro. But Mandalorian has just been one gift after another the entire time, leading to this episode where I'm like, the last episode was nuts too, but it's getting the crossing over, like you say, with Dark Troopers and Boba Fett, and it's bringing in the original trilogies and the games, Clone Wars, Rebel Wars. It's all kind of being tied together, and I believe that guys like Filoni and Favreau are doing it right. I was going to say for the first time, but not really for the first time, but it's just kind of like having the right spirit and the right heart for it that really makes it, guys like us, I assume you guys on the same page, just feel like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I sit down at that table, the meal gets served up, I'm like, this was a fantastic meal. Like, it's never that feeling of like, well, that was okay, or having to choose aspects of whichever film I'm watching and going, well, that was cool, but this was, whack. And no, I just, this most recent episode was
Not
insane.
to mention, I touched on it last time with Ahsoka, like the greatest re-entry. So she was introduced so amazing in the last episode, and I thought when Boba drops down and then starts whooping ass, what a great re-entry as like, I've got the gear, showtime. Loved it.
He rocked the dad bod in there too, right? But
That's what I was going to talk about.
Did it.
I like the Favreau. It's, he's pulling some of that Thor from Endgame, that the whole dad thing. And yeah, as soon as he puts on the Mandalorian armor, there's just that little bit of a punch. It's like, oh, all right.
Like, it doesn't quite come down enough. He's like,
yeah.
At least you knew it was him, right? You knew it was him under the armor there.
100%, yeah.
That would be like my dad putting on like a sports jersey from when he was playing soccer as a teen over top of his like his bathrobe or something like that. So
totally, yeah.
Now, do you guys feel like, Mike, you had some concerns on the last one that you weren't too sure where this was going, and we were like, it's the shortest episode. So what are they going to do with 30 minutes? And holy, did they ever pack a lot into 30 minutes?
Well, they did, and we talked about how there were so many different threads that were being tossed out there that they needed to start funneling back into sort of the main theme. And well, look who directed the episode.
I know.
So, Robert Rodriguez, like, holy crap. If you're going to do an action film or an action episode in 30 minutes and get all that in, it was phenomenal. And yeah, they tied so many things together. The Boba Fett reveal at the end of episode 1 was pretty good. The way they sort of teased and drew it out until finally you see him look into the Razor Crest, see the armor, and then, like you said, Brent, he sort of lands in. They even dug in deep with some of his actual armor, like the knee missiles, which it was, again, these little details that they've started to throughout the whole season, but they've added and they've gone back into that expanded universe in the canon. That 30 minutes flew by with so many things sort of wrapped into that 30 minutes that, man, yeah, we questioned it last week thinking 30 minutes, it's going to be a side quest. Mando's going to,
exactly, yeah.
Well, he still went on a mission, so we were right about that as well. Chris, what do you think?
Well, it was great. It was one thing I want to point out is that I go online and I listen to what a lot of people talk about. I'm a lifer for Star Wars, right? Like, discovered it when I discovered Kiss and Spider-Man back when I was 6 years old, and it always stayed with me. So one thing I'm noticing is that a lot of people are concerned about the Force choke. that Grogu's doing. If
Like it's a dark side thing.
yeah, but Luke did it at the beginning of Return of the Jedi to one of the Gamorrean guards right off the beginning there.
Exactly.
He had it too, right? So I don't think it's so much maybe the lightning more. That was because remember when Rey did that. That's more of a sign of a Sith thing. But the concern about the Force
Right.
choke is no concern, my friends. Don't worry about that.
That was a fun scene, though. That
Oh,
was a
when he was
fun
throwing-
scene with him. Just
when he was throwing the
That was
stormtroopers
awesome.
around. Oh, that was great. That was so cool.
Yeah.
Like he's so. When you get can you imagine him in Mandalorian armor? If he's little dude heading around with Mandalorian. So what they need to do next is just have Jedi Academy. You got baby Wookiees, you got baby Greedos in there, and you put all the little ones in there, and you see which ones fly, right? Because but I would love to see this continue on and have him stay with Mando myself. I'm seeing some people online saying that one of them has to die. It's like, no, they don't. They're not going to kill them off. Are you kidding me? Ridiculous. What other thing I wanted? So, the other side of my page here. Sorry, one sec. And then Moff Gideon, like, is he gonna take the powers of Grogu for himself, or is he gonna put that in a super trooper? That's something I'm really looking forward to finding. This is like this left so many questions, right? We're obviously heading for a big. Everybody's going for that dark saber from the Mandalorians, right? So we're gonna hit. Now we got Boba Fett hanging in there with him, and his allegiance is in there, and we're gonna have the Mandalorian. It's gonna be a big war. It's gonna be a great big war coming up. But I thought this episode was great. Again, I just love the layers to these characters, and I can't help but go back and compare them to the new trilogies from Disney. You know what I mean? I know, Mike, we were discussing that it was kind of quick for them, but I rewatched them, and I really enjoyed the story, actually, in the newer ones, but I just found the secondary characters didn't have the layers, you know what I mean?
right.
And they did have 3 movies to bring it to kind of make the layers. Rey was pretty cool. I liked Rey. But the layers to the characters in The Mandalorian, I don't know if it's the way it's written or presented, but they're grabbing these characters from back in a children's cartoon and making them just fantastic, right? And you care about these characters. You want to see more about them. Personally, I think, and just to throw one other thing about the newest Disney movies, personally, I think they came in at the wrong time. I would have liked to see them back up a bit and do Luke's Jedi Academy. I know he was a little maybe too old for that or whatever, but I thought they came in at the wrong time in that. That's just after rewatching them, right? But again, Mandalorian, layers, for the characters, you care about them all, which is amazing. That's hard to do, and just the graphics are great. Boba Fett redemption. I think the theme for everything that these guys are doing is redemption. Okay.
Hey Todd,
Absolutely.
has there been a moment? We've touched on a few things here. Has there been a moment through the series up at this point? We've all kind of had our moments like, holy, like they've done this. We'll come back to the episode in one second, but through the whole process, what's been the coolest thing about this series? Either one or two for you watching it, and then culminating with this episode. But I mean, is it hitting all the points for you, or is it?
I think it's almost hitting points that I didn't realize I needed.
Yeah.
In terms of like the samurai stuff. Sorry, and the Western vibe, and then the use of just amazing, like as a fan of just the genre and a fan of just great pop culture, seeing Timothy Oliphant or Earl Brown or and then just like Rodriguez and the Kiwi guy. I always can't get his name right from
Taiki
Taiki, yeah, he's amazing. And it just
Taika Waititi, that's it.
That's the one.
He's
and then
amazing.
and then Favreau, and then I think Filoni is, in so many ways is really actually the guy behind it all. Kind of, he's the guy who sort of represents all of our sort of like, what we should do. This would be cool, and that, and having that kind of knowledge of it. I don't know if there's any sort of key moments, but I mean, there's key moments it would be really impossible for me to look back and go, well, it was this. Even using Pedro Pascal, from Narcos, I was like, that guy, I love that guy. In Giancarlo Esposito, like any of these actors, every time I see them, I go, oh my God, like, are they just like looking through my dream list of who they should have in these damn things? Because I'm like,
I know,
they're
right?
nailing it.
Not
As soon as
to mention
Timothy
Giancarlo.
Oliphant walks in with his mask on, and I go, that's Timothy Oliphant. Before he even took it off, I go,
Not
Go
to
ahead,
mention Giancarlo might go down. I mean, he's in competition of having the 2 greatest TV characters of all time.
absolutely.
After Gus from Breaking Bad too. So
Yeah.
I mean, this is 2 for 2
He's
for him.
amazing, right?
Plus, it's been awesome.
One other thing I've got to mention, though, Todd, I think that Dank Farrik is Mandalorian for damn it.
I saw.
Do with it what you will, my friend.
Yeah.
Do with it what you will, but Dank Farrik, that's got to be damn it. And it's got to be
Todd
spelled
Dank Farrik.
Dammit. Damn it. That's
I like it. That's you know what? I'm going to steal that.
gold.
Todd Dank Ferrick
Gold.
Kerns. There you
There
go.
you go. I like it. It works for me.
It's
I was
got to
gonna
be,
say-
right? We got to look that up. I'm going to look that up after the podcast, but I don't know if that's online yet, but I should enter that in Wikipedia.
We're
That's what
stealing
it
I think you
means.
should.
Go ahead, Mike.
Should,
Wikipedia.
yeah.
I was just gonna say, I mean, Filoni definitely seems to be the big brains behind this, but I think what Favreau's bringing to this, and you're kind of seeing it with the amount of characters that they're bringing in and giving them all meaty positions in the universe, I think that comes from the whole Avengers time too. Like he
Yeah.
was part of this gigantic, a series of films where you had all these characters with all these different backstories and trying to give them enough of a presence so that the audience cares for it. And we're seeing that sort of in a condensed version. And I think that's also where he's bringing his expertise in, combined with Filoni's, masterful strokes from the Clone Wars and that like. So
And just being a
It's
fan,
just a
right? Like
perfect-
Filoni, isn't Filoni's like us, as I always like to say. He's
100%.
just a dude who grew up watching it, loves it, and I think he's George Lucas's young Padawan. You know what I mean? Like
I think
I
so.
truly do.
And I think he's also probably just sitting there every night, just waiting for Disney to call him on some of this stuff.
right?
Like it's just that waiting. Like, let's see how much we can push. Let's see how far we can sort of bring in the stuff that the fans were hoping for, that Disney was kind of poo-poo. And it's a license to print money. Obi-Wan is going into production.
Wow,
The
so
Cassian
stoked for
Andor
that.
series is going to production. You've got all these potentials with Ahsoka Tano. No, what is it?
Sakatani.
Ahsoka Tano and the whole Thrawn. You've got that
Oh,
potential. You've got Boba Fett, who could potentially have an offshoot series of his own. So again, this goes to the whole Disney
It's
content.
gonna be old Boba Fett though, with the kids, and he's an angry uncle that's kind of cutting his grass. He's over
I
it.
do-
Down out there.
I do want to say, I think that because we talked about there has to be a death. I almost, in the back of my mind, am thinking that Boba Fett is going to be that. He's going to get his
wow.
Han Solo death.
Wow, you think
Of
so,
the
huh?
series.
I've heard that
I-
online. I just think that it's such a cash cow that Disney's not going to kill him off. You know what I mean? Unless
Well, no
now
one's
that-
ever really killed off in this thing. No one's ever really
now
killed
that the
off.
Razor
Exactly.
Crest, now
That's
that the
true.
Razor Crest has been blown to bits,
Mhm.
you've got the Slave One. How poetic would it be that Boba's dying wish is that
Wow.
he takes the Slave One as his own.
do they
maybe.
dare? And do they? Here's another thing too. I always wondered: do they dare give Filoni Luke Skywalker as a character to use? Do they dare give him the right to kill off Boba Fett? Like, give it. Like, can you imagine that? You get your text going, okay, so we want you to kill off Boba Fett in this season. Wow, like I would blow. You know what I mean? Like, holy cow, that'd be like somebody contacted me, asked me. I could imagine somebody asking me to write something like that. Like, okay, you got to kill off Aunt May and do it right. You know what I mean? Like, holy cow, my God, don't involve Mephisto, just do it right. Holy cow. So
But you've got Boba
wild.
Fett now. His arc. I mean, if you take the whole long Star Wars arc of Boba Fett,
yeah,
he's got his armor back.
that's a good
And-
point. You've actually made
So
a better
now-
point than the people online I've been watching, Mike.
Well, this is
I-
why
I hate to-
this is
I
why
hate
we
to bring
pay
the
for
party
the
down.
talent. Boys, this
Yeah.
is why we pay for the big talent.
There you go.
This is why we get the guys on. Now, Todd, we've had a series. We've had a section on this going. We got two different sections that we do. We got Lonnie, our producer, in the booth back there, right beside Chris. We are going to throw to "This Is the Way." So Lonnie's got some theme, like a little thing.
Oh,
We'll
This
go,
is the way.
yeah. So we're going to go. This is the way. It's a little
This
inside.
is
It's a
the
little
way.
inside that
This
Chris
is the
will
way.
drop on you
This
some
is
Star
the
Wars
way.
knowledge. Everyone can weigh in on where he's going. Chris,
This
take
is
it
the
away.
okay, so
way.
I'm just going to pull this right out of a conversation between a Jedi and a Mandalorian. Okay, so this is about the dark saber. Again, I'm going to try and talk slow because I get so excited about this stuff. And man, I would love.
I love it.
So of course for Christmas I've asked for a dark saber. I got to get a dark saber. I've got the Darth Vader replica
Oh, nice.
right up there. Right, makes the noises. was whacking it off stuff. It's really cool. So I want the dark saber for Christmas this year. Already asked the wife for it. We're gonna do it.
We got to break this down slow because Dean's watching and we got to break it down.
Okay,
for him.
Dean, this
So
is
we-
the dark saber.
so-
So here's the deal with the whole dark saber, and this is a conversation between two Star Wars characters, as I mentioned, a Jedi and a Mandalorian. Okay, so I didn't know Mandalorians developed a type of lightsaber. We didn't. This was one of a kind. Legend tells that it was created over 1,000 years ago by Tar Vizsla, the first Mandalorian ever inducted into the Jedi Order. After his passing, the Jedi kept the saber in their temple. That was until members of the House of Vizsla snuck in and liberated it. They used the saber to unify the people and strike down those who would oppose them. At one time, they ruled all of Mandalore wielding this blade. This saber is an important symbol to that house and respected by all the other clans. Okay, so that's how important that saber is to, if you go back to when the Mandalorians were looking or helping Mando and looking for that saber, that's how important that saber is to them. That is like to their planet. So there's some dark saber knowledge I dropped on y'all. Yo!
I liked. I did like the little comment that Moff Gideon had when he's showing Grogu the saber. He's like, you know, you could put somebody's eye out with it, you know.
Yeah.
Which I thought it was cute, and you know,
Do you think
back,
that was a Christmas story reference?
Oh!
Wow. Okay.
Peter Billingsley.
Mind blown.
That's good. That's
I
very
only
good.
thought
was-
of it because it's Christmas time.
Also, the Dark Troopers were a minor tribute to Iron Man. Do we
Oh,
think?
dude.
Great,
Nice.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
buddy.
So-
Wait,
That's
Um,
amazing.
So,
so wait a minute. Let's go over that theory. What was that again? So the Christmas story. That was. Where did you think he said that? Like the reference?
Well, because he says, "Yo, be careful. You know, you put your eye out with this."
Take someone's eye out.
But
A lot
take
of people
someone's
online
eye
are
out.
saying
No, I get it. That
they
was
think-
great. I just
A
wonder.
lot of people are saying that they think that's going to be in reference to, I don't know, Moff Gideon getting his eye poked out by that sword, by that.
Oh.
I
by,
like
you
the
know, somebody, I
Christmas
don't know.
story reference, and I
But
think that's
yeah,
awesome.
that's what I said too. And the funny thing is that Peter Billingsley and John Favreau are like bros. Like
Yes,
they're
that's right.
production partners together.
And
So
they
I was
work
like,
together on
was an
Iron
elf.
Man
they
2.
do- yeah, he's
Or
in
was it
he's in
Iron Man
Iron
1.
He's in
Iron
Iron
Man
Man in the Marvel universe as that
Yeah.
scientist dude or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Scientist
Yeah.
number 4. Or what-
Exactly.
I
I don't know the
number
character.
4.
That's awesome. That's a great point. I like that.
I still want to see. Like, I love the little handcuffs they had for Grogu.
Oh, I know.
Like,
Yeah.
I know.
where do you
yeah.
and I was
Jawas.
speaking, you know, of watching videos where they pointed out these little Easter eggs and stuff. Somebody had pointed out that they had some sort of a laser field to keep him from using the Force, similar to when Obi-Wan, I think it was in Attack of the Clones, when he's being held in that sort of
Right.
tube by Count Dooku,
Yep.
and he's got the shackles on where he can't use the Force. So, yeah, just again, the little details that that Filoni and Favreau are pulling out.
Two
Just
things from the
unreal.
episode. Two things from the episode that were kind of funny when he hit the ship and it hit the other ship, and he's like, "Oh, I meant to."
Yeah,
meant
dude, the
to,
other-
Yeah.
You notice that they didn't put any stormtroopers falling out of it screaming. Just a little point.
Yeah.
He should have been. And didn't he? And there's another point about him leaving the jetpack down. They had to run all the way back up to Grogu, but he left the jetpack.
Yeah.
He could have just. Anyways, there's that.
That's right.
Where do we think this is going? Because we got 2 more segments to do, and then we're gonna show
Let's
a
go
Tuke
into a
video.
melee.
We're gonna
Huge.
show
Oh, really?
show a Tuke video for you,
Cool.
and then we're gonna get into some Van Halen chat. But
And
we're gonna
Kiss.
go and some Kiss stuff. But what we want to do right now is we're gonna go where we think it's going next. Mikey, we'll start with you, buddy.
Okay, so next episode, Rick, I always say his name wrong. Rick Famuyiwa is directing, and
Oh, wow.
he directed episode 2, The Child, and also The Prisoner, which this episode they referenced Bill Burr's character again.
Yeah, I saw
Yeah.
that.
Saw that
As
as well.
being the one that they need him to find Moff Gideon's ship. So interesting that Rick's coming back to direct that. So I think we're going to see this side quest, maybe a prison break, because you know Cara Dune has gone all she's gone all straight and narrow since she got
Right.
her little rebel chip. So again, possibly another prison break, one of those uneasy alliances. I'm thinking betrayal, because anytime Star Wars has something like this, you've got, you know, the Lando Calrissian, and I forget who the guy was in Last Jedi. Sort of, there's always that the the penultimate backstab, and then we'll have the big resolve in the season finale. So next episode, I'm thinking we're going to see a bit of a side quest, and then the big Avengers type showdown where we'll see Bo-Katan and we'll see, you know, Ahsoka and, you know, everybody coming back for one big battle, and then the fate of the child will sort of.
We always get a quest. That part, it's the A-team model has been set. There's an
very much so.
All right, so,
very much so.
Model,
all right, Todd, where do you think this is going?
I think I'm with Mike in a lot of it. You know, there's a great deal of ... about the Jedi that I assume Grogu was somehow converging with, or whatever was going on there. So you're kind of like, what's this? Who's this going to be? And that always makes me a little nervous as to who they're going to pull out of the, you know, the canon, and hopefully it's somebody interesting. But I think, yeah, you're right. I mean, the fact that Bill Burr is in Star Wars is again so
it's
rad.
amazing.
Like,
amazing.
He's one of the best comedians in the world right now, and I just think the fact that he's like, I gotta, you know, if I ever meet the guy, it's gonna be like, come on, like seriously, like you get to be in Star Wars. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the next one is all about that. I think it'll be all about the prison break, and I guess and probably in some sort of B story about what's going on with Grogu up there with Moff Gideon. So I assume that whether it's just breaking Bill out and then going out and trying to save the child, I still can't get used to Grogu. I'm sorry, this is always going to be Baby Yoda to me. But yeah, I assume the next episode would just be all about that.
Chris, where are you going, buddy?
Oh, just, you know, I've been so awful with my predictions lately. Like if Luke Skywalker shows up at the end, man, that's it for me. I'm done, because I totally called that. There's no way that Luke's gonna show up. But I just battles. It's hard. I don't know, man. Everybody's coming back. Like Mike says, we're heading for the big, you know, the Infinity
Game.
The end game, the Infinity Gauntlet War. They're gonna bring in everybody they can for the big coup de grace, and then they'll I'm thinking they're probably gonna start aiming towards these shoot-off shows that they're going to do. It'd be interesting, Mike. We'll see if they're going to give Boba Fett his own show, or we'll see if they're going to just, you know, say that's it for you. It'd be kind of cool if they teamed up. It'd be kind of cool if they teamed up Mando and Boba Fett, and they went out and did, you know, it's like what was that old show with the one guy that kept it clean and the other guy that messed everything up?
It'll be like a lethal
the odd couple, like the odd couple. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Because you got the classic guy and you got the younger guy, and the one won't take his helmet off, the other one will. And that'd be
or you could be like, you know, Boba Fett. I'm getting too old for this shit. You know,
that's exactly
right. So, you know, and hilarity ensues like that. You know,
stop looking at my gut. Stop, I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
You get like
That's
this,
what I said.
You get the new bromance thing coming out there, and then you got Ahsoka Tano going off on her whole thing with Thrawn and bringing in Ezra and everything from the bringing the Clone Wars and the Rebels to a head. But yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of answers of where the other shows are going to go. That's what I'm going to say.
All right, listen. I don't know how many episodes are left. We think two, maybe.
2 episodes.
Two. So if it's pretty typical writing, everything's going to happen in the next episode. That'll set up the last episode, which cleans up some stuff. But if you look back at The Sopranos, you look at anything that's second last episode, people got whacked. Everything set up the final episode to get into the next thing. So I don't think we're going to get a reveal who actually answered Baby Yoda's Force call until the very final scene of the last episode. Sure. I know we're talking about the next episode, but I think that to the points there's going to be a battle. It's going to set something up. I'm throwing it out there that it's going to be Luke or Mace Windu.
I was going to say, how great would be like a Force ghost of Mace Windu? Like,
because you know the thing is that like
Mace Windu.
That's what I'm saying. Actual Mace Windu, because here's the thing: the movie business is down. Sam Jackson's doing nothing. He needs a gig. So
and he's awesome.
You know, but he's in everything. And when there's no movie business, he can't be in anything. So let's put him in this.
Yeah, so but Disney. It's Disney. How many motherfuckers can he drop?
I love it.
So we'll see.
Well, imagine if they live for a cliffhanger. It's like the Jedi's about to show off, and it's like dun 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 dun, and it's over. It's like, oh, what the hell? Man, that would get a lot of viewers for the next episode or the next season.
And I will rain down upon thee with great.
All right, Lonnie, it is time. We're going to bring a special guest in here because it is time for That's My Wookiee, which is our game show segment of the show. And I'm going to just going to go there. Wait for a second. We've got Darth Vader rejoining us in a second here.
Cool.
I'm
let's
still
see.
trying to recover from last week's Darth Vader appearance because
You got force choke, my friend.
I got force choked.
Oh, damn. You could do that over the internet?
Yeah.
I
feel bad because I was kind of taunting him with the, try and do the force
Alex,
choke. and then
Alex,
grab
we see you,
Mike
buddy. But Alex, we see you, buddy. But you got to turn your video on, my man. You got
Where are
to
you,
turn your
Alex?
video on.
Where's
Wait,
Darth
I need
Vader?
to use I need to use the force to turn on the video.
All this internet stuff, it's a social, it's like, it's a million ways to die. You got to press this button and the camera and the thing. It's never.
Yep.
Yeah, buddy, you got to turn your video on. You got to touch the screen on the bottom, and
There he
we
is.
go.
Holy
My
cow.
goodness,
Oh,
wow.
it's a double whammy. It's a double whammy.
Look
Yeah,
at
Put him
that.
with that mask on. That was good.
Double dark side.
He's got something to say. What are you saying?
I've been waiting for you, Obi-Wan.
All right, here we go.
Damn.
But you
All right.
won't yet.
It
Okay.
is time.
I'll tell you what. I got 4 questions here about Boba Fett.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So all 4 of y'all could play.
Wow.
You just okay, and we'll just so it could be an easy question, could be a little tricky, but
Okay.
these aren't too bad. These aren't too bad. So these are all questions about Boba Fett. We got A, B, C, and D. So who wants to start?
Let the birthday boy go first.
All right, Todd. A,
Sure, yeah.
A, B, C, or D?
Sacrificial lamb here. C.
All right. Now you get to pick between 2 of them here. Who said, "Always a pleasure to meet a Jedi"? Was that Boba Fett or was that Jango Fett?
Oh, wow, dude. Is that a trick question because they're a clone of the same person? So.
Well played. Well played.
Well, that's not true, actually, because Django would be the original. Always a pleasure to meet. I think it was Django.
You got it. Ding, 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 ding. And that was in Attack of the Clones. Or yeah, Attack of the Clones.
Interesting
job.
to note that some of Boba's lines in this episode, the one which sort of referenced Django's introduction to Obi-Wan from Attack of the Clones, and also the like my father before me.
Luke Skywalker, man.
Yeah.
So a little bit of that sort of harkening back to the
That's
original
great.
trilogy. And
So,
the
Mike,
prequels. So
right.
that's pretty cool.
Do you want
I'll
A,
take
B, or D?
I'll take A.
Who killed Boba Fett's dad?
That would be Mace Windu.
Ding, ding, ding. See, these aren't too bad.
Off
These
with
aren't
his
too bad,
head.
right? Those aren't too
Off
bad.
with his head.
And the thing about that is that everybody's like, why didn't Django move? How come he just cut his head off? Well, when he was fighting that big beast there, it damaged his blaster or his jetpack. And if you watch the movie again, which I just did, you'll see he tries to jet out of the way, but it sputters, and then Mace just cuts his head off, right?
That's right.
Okay, so we've got Alex. You want to go next? Do you want?
Sure.
Do you want B or do you want D?
B.
What group? Oh, yeah, it's a little bit of a tough one, buddy. What group is Boba Fett affiliated with?
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's probably the toughest one out of the group, or other than the last one. You guys got the 2 easy ones, actually.
I'm going with Kiss.
Yeah.
That's
Nope,
acceptable.
Kiss
We'll
Army.
accept that. Yeah, exactly.
Alex, you have any idea, buddy?
I don't have any.
Give him the other. Give him the easy one.
Well, yeah, I gave you guys the easy ones. I was saying the easy ones are already pulled out. So he's a bounty hunter. He's part of the Bounty Hunters Guild.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's a tough one.
That was a tough. That's what I'm saying. That was a tough one. But this is a tough one too, kind of, especially for Alex, because it's a little out of his zone here. I can give him a Clone Wars question after these, though. So okay. So Brent, you got the last one. Why?
Kiss.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
All of the above.
What is Kiss?
You're gonna blame Kiss for this one then. Okay. Why was the original Boba Fett toy taken off the market?
Ooh, confidence. So I heard. There was a.
And it wasn't because of Kiss. Gene Simmons had nothing to do with this.
Wasn't there a malfunction with something in the toy that could injure kids?
It wasn't really a malfunction, but there was.
It was on purpose.
Yeah.
Do you mean this one?
It was built to
You mean
injure
this
kids.
Whoa, it's older than that one, buddy.
Very nice.
That's a cool one though.
That is
Do you
a good
remember the
one.
original one being given away on the back of cereal boxes? And stuff?
Yes. Oh,
I
yeah.
actually
Was I
ordered
close?
one of those.
Was I close?
Yeah, very.
Yeah, it was
with
choking
the
hazard.
rocket launch.
It popped out, and the
So-
kids were choking on
Came
it.
out of his jetpack, yeah.
I'll
They
take
were,
it.
they were
I'll
imitating
take
the Sarlacc pit and shooting it into their mouth, I guess. I don't know what was going on there.
Yeah.
Or knocking their brother's eye out.
There you go. Twain, come here, buddy.
Sorry.
So I think we all got a point. Alex for one more point here, and then we'll wrap it up. before we move on to some Van Halen talk. What's that?
Oh. We're back.
We're back.
Then we're back.
Tech.
Hey, we're back. Okay.
All right.
And we're back.
All right, Alex. Last
Okay.
one, Alex, and then we're going
Alex?
to wrap it.
At the end of who was the major Imperial villain at the end of Rebels and Clone Wars?
At the end of Rebels,
Yes.
On Nooney
Grand Admiral
Sorry.
Thrawn.
Yay! There you go, buddy.
Wow.
Grand Admiral Thrawn, you got it. Good job. And
Very
that's
well
probably where
done.
we're heading with everything with the Mandalorian and
Nice
Ahsoka
work,
Tano and
Alex. You
stuff.
get a point.
Yeah.
Now go
You did good,
clean the
buddy.
house. Go clean the house.
I'm already done
Yes.
my chores.
You get going. Do
Make
your
us some
sister
burritos,
chores.
buddy.
Thank you for not force choking me this week. I appreciate
yes.
that.
Get him.
No, please, no, please, no.
You have failed me for the last time, Mike.
Oh, you should have swung. Hey, Alex. Oh, he's gone.
He's
I was gonna
gone.
say
He's
next time
gone.
swing him around a bit like Yoda did, or not Yoda. I mean like Grogu did. See, I'm doing
Yeah,
it too,
right.
Todd. No worries. I think.
I know, baby Yoda.
Well, that, my friends, is a wrap on segment one, the Mandalorian
Beautiful.
review.
Beautiful.
On that side, Mikey, tell us where everyone can find
Well,
you. I had a
I
whole
was-
plan for you to introduce Todd
Well, here's
with a voiceover and everything,
Oh, I
and,
know.
and then I got stuck in a text. So why don't you reintroduce him now with
well,
voiceover?
here's
There we
well.
go.
How about we do this? So, in honor of Todd being here, I dug into my Todd tribute. So
wow.
so here we've got the from the last time I saw Todd was
Wow,
Slash in
nice.
Hamilton.
Wow.
This one we're going old school because my wife Carolyn was a huge AOE fan.
Oh, me too,
Wow.
man.
And look, and I brought this out. I dug this out of the old CD case to get a confirmation. Is that the Todd K?
Wow. That is,
signature?
yeah.
There you go,
Yes.
buddy.
Wow. It's like, that's
Yes.
a compact disc for anybody who's wondering.
It's a compact disc. Yes, this was apparently signed in London at I think it was the NAC at that point, possibly.
Like the
This-
call the office.
Call the
maybe or
office.
something?
Call the
Oh,
office.
Yeah.
Just
it was
closed.
the NAC or the not the Ride Out. There was something else. Anyway,
Okay. Yeah.
but-
Yeah.
So anyway, she and Todd actually follows her on Twitter. Even he.
Wow, there you go.
So there you go.
That's awesome.
And of course the toque. So
The
this is
toque.
the vintage Quebec toque. So
Ooh,
Quebec
Joe
Nordies.
Sackett's
I would have
originality.
I would have tried to dig out like some mines for the minefield reference, but
Wow.
but
That's
anyway,
a lot of references, yeah.
a lot of them. So yeah, it was very cool,
Easter eggs,
and
gotta love
loving the new music. So
Thank you, brother. Thank
I'm
you.
going to stick around and watch the rest of this episode, so you guys talk your music. And we'll do
Yeah.
this again next week, and hopefully, Todd, you'll come back because this is nice having an extra nerd on the show.
I'm always
with
in.
Star
I'm always
Wars,
in.
man.
That's
So
awesome.
I didn't get to mention that Giancarlo is also in The Boys. So, I mean, he's.
Oh, that's such
that's
a
how much it- yeah.
series too.
It just
man.
keeps going. He just won. He
never
just
ends.
won.
It
Now,
never ends.
I always like to ask Mike the question because he always has a great
Yeah.
answer. Where can we find you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm all over the place. Yeah. Although I had a buddy who admitted to me that he heard me the other day because he was watching Hallmark movies on W Network. So
Nice.
Did I hear you on a Bodog commercial?
yes, you did. Yes.
Todd, I think Todd, wasn't there a connection there? Wasn't one of the bands wasn't something signed, or was that Doug that was with Bodog with Biff?
Back in the day,
Yeah.
when I was hanging around with Biff and all that crowd, we were all involved with Bodog. Yeah.
So there we go.
Okay.
The 6 degrees of
It's all connected.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
It's very incestuous.
It's
Yeah.
so incestuous.
Love
All
it
right,
when the
boys.
plan comes together.
Till next
Yeah.
week. We'll do this again.
Cheers, Mike.
Awesome.
Peace.
buddy.
Peace out, y'all.
Thanks, buddy. Now, Lonnie, on the 1s and 2s, we're going to take a break for everyone watching at home for about 3 minutes, which
Cool.
I think is.
I can use
We
the
got another
facilities.
special guest joining us for the Todd Kerns birthday celebration
Yay!
Oh, God.
today. Then we're going to get into some Van Halen. We're going to get into probably some Kiss. I
Oh,
want
we
to
gotta
definitely.
talk Kiss, dude.
I want to definitely talk. Todd, it's your birthday. You got a whole bunch of stuff to do, so we'll do this pretty fast. But I want to get into a few things, and then we're going to talk a little bit about like breaking a band in the '90s versus what it's looking like now. So I can't hear
question.
Lonnie over there. Is Lonnie ready to go? Lonnie, are we
Yep, she's
are we
ready
good to go?
She's good
All
to
right,
go.
we're going to stand
take a
by,
break?
Todd, and I'm just going to give you a little preview of who's joining us. He's coming
Great.
in. He's coming in right now for a little chat. Normally found on Tuesdays.
Coming in
Normally-
hot.
Oh, there
Normally
we go.
Normally found on Tuesdays, but we're going to bring another Took member in.
Ah.
Canadian member for some birthday celebration chats. I see, and then, but we're going to take a little break right now, and we're going to come back, and we'll come back there. So stay tuned,
Exciting.
everybody. Lonnie, say when.
Okay, Lonnie, we're on break.
Booyah.
Hooray!
Hey, Fitz, are you there?
Yeah. I knew it would be Brent Fitz.
I need some video, buddy. Got to throw your video on. I got to plug in my laptop. Oh, sorry.
A million ways to die, Brentley. Okay, you got to get. There he is.
Hey,
Fitz was at Batman Returns last night.
Wicked. I was just like, we were like, I love this thing. We just, we had some tech stuff that we were around a little late. But the idea was like, we're going to do like some Van Halen and just talking. And while we're going to bring crashing, but it ended up being the tech. I need to bring it all. Honey can roll it. So right now we're going to roll, I think we're rolling the two. Or we're going to roll the two video. If not now, we'll roll it. Yeah. We're just going to roll it on the stream. It's on the streaming. I'm just going to plug my stuff in. Stand by. You can see it on my Facebook.
Where are you, Brent? Where are you with your house?
It's my buddy's account. Yeah, let's stand by for 5 minutes or 6 minutes. How's Lonnie doing there? We're not actually streaming. Okay. For never know. Okay. So Fitz, if you go on like Twitter and like retweet it or something, you can actually see the live feed happening right now on my Twitter and Blackout's Twitter.
YouTube, right?
You can actually just go to Twitter. You can watch it on Twitter. You can go Brenton on Twitter podcast. You can watch it there. Just on the bottom of the Twitter, you can tweet say, hey, Brenton. And like whatever, you can tell you would normally retweet. It's just live right now, right? Probably retweet, say,
Decided to get
I've got a non-alcoholic beer from Toronto.
Oh, thank you, sir. I like it. That's the. Can we use that? A dash of "Let's do it today." I like it. When I say one-liners, I have one line. I used it years ago, and I've just been riding on that this whole time.
So, boys, where I want to go with this is just we were just going to chat music in general. Todd, I know you had to jump, so I didn't want it to go too long.
I don't really have anywhere to go. I'm moved in the house by myself.
Okay, I thought
my wife's out like, I got to go to dinner at like 5 or something like that. Whatever.
We could do like So I just wanted to get into. We've kind of already covered Van Halen before. You guys. I was going to talk about some '90s bands. Brent, you can probably hammer this home with some great stuff out of Winnipeg. Todd breaking with age. We were kind of talking. We've had a few chats lately about, the Star Wars is one thing, but Chris and I, from the music side, we really like to have music talks with guys too. Even though you guys are on talking music all the time, I get it. So take it anywhere you want. I don't want to, we just want to have a good chat.
Don't spend a lot of time talking about the 90s. So that's always kind of fun, actually.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. So anytime Lonnie wants to bring us back.
Lonnie.
How you broke down the pre-chorus and all the rest of it on the last. That's what's coming with the Guess Who chat coming up, but not on this show. This show we're playing with toys.
Toys, exactly.
We're playing with toys and
grown men playing with toys. Chicks love that, don't they? Right? Am I right?
So, anyways, Chris and I fired this up a couple weeks ago.
Oh, look
this
at that! Oh
I've
my
got that
gosh,
one.
that's
I've
the
got
Adam
that one out
West.
shit. I
there.
didn't know we were bringing toys. God damn it.
Wow, that is
Todd and I have
cool.
something really
Well,
cool.
Chris, you got to jump in here. You got a shit ton of stuff.
Wow. Oh, I do, but I got stuff behind glass and whatever. But I'm more interested in what you guys are into pop culture wise. Brent and Todd, so do you guys have a favorite comic book? You guys can take
I've
turns.
always been, ever since I was a kid, it was all about Batman.
Yeah.
But that's sort of, it's such an easy thing to kind of act with, other than the fact that there was multiple titles, and when you were into it, it was a very costly thing. But, I think that, I've been through multiple phases. X-Men was a big one when I was a kid.
Oh boy.
In fact, most of the, it's weird for me because I've gone through phases of being really DC and then really Marvel, and then all the other other stuff that goes in from Dark Horse to all points in between, and a lot of the McFarlane stuff.
Oh,
I followed
Image
him
comics.
down. Yeah, I followed Image for years.
He's
so.
a rad dude as well, Todd. He's just like, where's my plaque to Marvel, right? They're like, well, change the webs, do this. Todd's like, no, like, my dad got a plaque. He worked at a factory. Where's my plaque?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, he is Canadian. We have to
He
give him
is,
that.
dude.
Yeah. God love him.
So,
But
was Batman? So do you remember, Todd? What was your first comic book or your first superhero? Was it Batman?
It would have been Batman. But I mean, I remember back when comic books were, the
Yes,
really
I got
huge
those.
ones.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And, I was obsessed with all that stuff. I've been obsessed with it my whole life. Like, still
too.
now, I watch all the CW stuff. I watch all the movies. I watch and there's varying degrees of quality. We all know this.
Right.
And people will they'll be like, well, you like this, right? I go, just because I like the genre doesn't mean I like every single film or every single, genre piece that comes out. Because I am a massive sci-fi guy. I'm a massive comic book guy.
Yeah.
Obviously music. Horror, I love good horror.
Mhm.
Like guys like Slash. Slash will just sit through anything horror related.
Really? That's interesting.
And we'll sit there and I'll go, be like, that was kind of like it's kind of, he's not really so much into gore. He just likes horror, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I like good horror. I also like good sci-fi and good comics and good stuff. So I can be fairly discerning about that kind of stuff when the quality's not that great. But yeah, it's like that. There's an R2-D2 over here. There's Batman over there. There's, Boba Fett. I probably should show you. Well, I'll show you later. But it's a Boba Fett. I've shown it on there. It's a skateboard. And since I don't skateboard, it's just hanging there, kind of like. But that's I am such that's the best thing about all this is it's like it keeps you young. They never stop making awesome stuff. Like it's just kind of like I'll be an old man and there'll be like new sci-fi and new comic book and new music and new stuff to still just keep me young. I can't wait.
Yeah,
Fitz, what was the Winnipeg comic scene like for comic books?
Oh, good.
I remember a bunch of stores in Winnipeg we used to go to.
Well, anyone from Winnipeg remembers we had a place called Comic World, and it was down on Portage Avenue. It's gone now, but the culture was that all the kids from the burbs used to convene downtown on the weekends, and we would go comic book shopping, head shop for t-shirts, and it was always like you went to that place. We had a couple good ones, but it was always bootleg concert t-shirts that weren't quite as good. You buy your Rat and
they fall apart in a few months. Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah. But that's what I did every weekend. I went to Comic World. It's the first place where we got to buy. I remember seeing. Do you remember the Kiss mirror? I think it was the Destroyer mirror. And
I remember those at the they always had those at the fairs, the big fairs. You could win the mirrors with the darts.
Totally.
Right?
100%.
I think my friend Brad Bailey ended up buying it, but everybody loved Kiss, everybody loved comics, everybody loved Star Wars. I mean, we're all sort of similar age, so all those things got.
I'm way younger than all of you guys.
We keep having this argument. Brent and I keep having this argument. It's like, dude, you're so old. What are you doing?
I'm way
older than me.
Way younger.
So Brent, who was your first hero that you grabbed a hold of, superhero wise? Mine was Spider-Man.
Yeah, mine was Spider-Man too. But if I could just compare, I think when we were kids, there was definitely Batman was big and Spider-Man, kind of like Judas Priest and Iron Maiden.
Oh wow, that's a great comparison. I love that.
Wow.
Like I loved both, but I kind of sided. I don't know why I picked. I just remember drawing a lot of Spider-Man in school. I was really into art, and I found some of my old drawings. But Spider-Man comics for sure. But I also, of course, had Batman. A little bit of Superman. I mean, of course, we all watched those Christopher Reeve.
The
those
movies,
were a big deal. because there wasn't a other than the '60s Batman TV series, there wasn't like a show other like a major movie. But the Supermans were awesome. But we all loved, and Todd, the cartoon, the Spider-Man cartoon.
Of course, obsessed with it. The music is some of the best
I have that
music there is.
Todd, if you look on YouTube, they have the music, and
I've watched
2 hours of it. It's just
I know,
the music.
it's amazing. Yeah, it's the best.
Such a great vibe. Yeah,
It was so great to watch.
60s kind of that vibe. You know what I mean? I think it's like Brent brings it up. It's like I was just obsessed with all of it. Star Trek, Star Wars. I just Battlestar Galactica. You know, any of it. I was just kind of like, you know, $6 Million Man. When we were small kids, as you grew up, these kind of things, and they're all attached to our nostalgia bones now. So, like Brent and I are out buying Evel Knievel toys, you know, whatever we can find.
Let them
all
go.
these, all
My
these
kids,
things that keep us 9 years old forever. Yeah.
My kids just watched Toy Story 4 again this morning. So
Classic.
I know Fitzy, you got Captain. Was it?
I got a bunch of that.
The Evil
too.
Knievel. What's it?
Boom.
Yeah.
Todd and I we're neck and neck on all that. All that came out. We all bought the same shit at the same
The
time.
Keanu Reeves, yeah, it was Keanu Reeves. The fact that he was like, first of all, he was kind of like Evel Knievel, but he was a Canadian character. We were like, well, now I got to buy all this T-shirts, the whole thing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Keanu did the voice, yeah.
Well, it's funny because it never ends, as you guys talked about. We literally like watch it you missed the Mandalorian chat, Brent. I don't know if you've been watching the Mandalorian, but we did a bit of a review on it. We're all kind of caught up on it, and just it's solving and filling all these little holes. And Todd said it best too. They're doing things that we didn't ask them to. Like they're just doing little things, and it's like I love it when that happens. They're showing us where the speeders are stored. They're showing where the land speeders are stored. So it's really cool that we still have an opportunity, because the kids are getting spoiled with all the graphics and all the craziness. Like they just didn't come through Superman 3.
Well, they have access to it all anytime they want. Remember when you were younger? I would love to watch Star Wars again, but you have to go to the theater to watch it again. Right now, they can get clips of it. They can get reviews of it.
You know what I equate it to, which is a weird thing, but it's a specific thing to a certain age group, is when I was a kid, you bought a record, you played the record, and you stared at a 2-dimensional image on the cover of the album.
Dude.
And the fact that you never really saw Kiss in any 3-dimensional or the Beatles or anything, because maybe they were going to be on a TV show or something like that. So once in a while you would see it. Now the fact that I can go, I don't know, like some new group comes out, I can go and find every concert they ever played and watch them and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of takes away some of the mystery. And I'm not one of those guys that's on my porch going, these kids these days, because I think it's, that's really pointless. But I think that also has the same effect of all of these things. The only way to go and see there we
go.
Wait a minute. I'm doing a visual while Todd talks, because he has this same toy in his living room. So
let me see this.
Mine's set up.
When you can't have an album that's 3-dimensional, and eventually when you're our age and you can have
my god,
I forgot how dope the box is, man. Mine's set up
over
there.
I set mine up. I think yours is set up, but you can.
I set mine up. Yeah, it's the actual stage from Kiss Alive 2.
Whoa.
Brent got it for me for my birthday a couple years ago. But that's my point.
Hey, Todd, Brent's going to get it for Chris and I's birthday this year.
I was going to say, do you guys remember when Kiss Meets the Phantom was on TV, and it was just like this build up.
Monumental.
And then my parents watched it with me too. I'm like, well, that wasn't half bad, Chris. And then they took me to see the Dynasty tour, right? And we all had a great time. It was the last Kiss tour with Peter Criss in there. The original deal there. And he even
didn't get to see that. We didn't see Kiss in makeup until a reunion tour. But Todd and I saw the same show a day apart on Animalize. So you went.
In 85, yeah.
Okay, I saw the Animalize tour as well. I was always going to Maple Leaf Gardens.
How young were you? How old were you when you saw Dynasty?
I probably would have been 7 or 8 years old.
Oh wow!
You're lucky.
Yeah, my parents took me, dude. Well, I saw the. I started getting into music really young, right? Like when I was young, I loved Queen, I loved Kiss, and those are my 2 main bands. Like Freddie Mercury still is like, and I got to say, Todd, your song Enya, wow, Freddie Mercury vibes, like chills.
Thank you very much.
Freddie Mercury chills. One of my favorite songs by by your band. Anyway,
Thank you.
I totally got off. What was I talking about? I totally got off track with that
We
song.
were
there.
talking about how much younger I am than all of you
Yeah,
guys.
right. No, the Kiss tour, and everything. Yeah. So they took me to see the Dynasty tour, right? And we were right on the aisle. I was in the aisle singing along to every damn song. I came in on Love Gun, even when I was younger, man. And then my parents took me to see Alice Cooper the following year, and he didn't show up. And there was a riot this was at the C&E, and he didn't. The opening band played, and then he was sick, I guess. And I don't know if you guys remember this from Legend, but people tore the C&E apart, man, and we got out of there.
No.
I'm, again, just a little nargan, but I came away from going, rock and roll is so effing cool. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like, oh my God, like, we almost got killed. It was like, whoa, that was amazing. Maybe I can see Alice again another time. The mystique, and you brought up the comic book earlier there, right, Todd? The mystique of Alice Cooper to me after that was just like, whoa. People wreck things if he doesn't show up. You know, it was so cool. I was just little.
Like, you didn't get to see the concert, but you got to enjoy a riot.
I got to enjoy a riot, and man, people were smoking. Like, I'm sitting there with my parents, and my parents aren't rock and rollers, man. Like, my dad's a car guy, and my mom's just like the mom from the Wonder Years, kind of, right? You know what I mean? And we got people on either side smoking great big doobs, and they're all, you know, jokingly trying to pass them to me, right? This little 7-year-old kid, and they're like, "Oh, do your parents like Alice Cooper?" And my parents are just like, "Oh, yeah, well, we'll just sit through this for great parents, right?"
Yeah,
Amazing. So I walked away, and then that's just rock and roll, man. Like, I've loved Kiss.
Rock and
And
roll.
that
Kiss is like
band,
comic
that
books.
band, that band, you know, like comic, but it basically just keeps going from generation to generation. As I said, he just keep reinventing himself. Right? And the thing about it is that, like, I brought this year took my little guy Alex. He's already seen Kiss like 3 times,
That's
so or
amazing.
twice,
Wow.
anyways. But I was in London this year touring, and they were at the O2, and our friend Chad Guy was running the show there, and brought us in, and you know, it was a really, really cool like moment to have that, you know, with him there. And you know, I'm late to the game, like, well, not late to the game, because I didn't like you guys, I didn't see them in makeup until much later. I
Well, it's
think
because you're so young, right? It's because you're so young.
I do believe
He was listening to ABBA back then.
no, no, it was
great.
it would have been
I'm
who was
joking.
that I was listening to back then. Anyways, my first record was Too Fast for Love. Anyway, so we'll go
Nice.
from
Oh,
there.
wow.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
good place to start, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, music, rock, gentlemen, both, Chris and I had a band in the 90s. We opened up for a bunch of bands, including Age, I believe, either in Peterborough or Oshawa. I can't remember which one it was.
Really?
Chris,
We
I
were
think it
always
was-
the best man. We were never like, you know, we were always the opening dudes, but we loved it.
It was a
It
lot
was so
of
much fun, man.
and
Yeah,
it's,
no,
it,
we did the
it
scene
got
with My
s-
Mother Earth and like you know, Rusty and Killjoys, Matthew
yeah.
Good. Like, we got to
Yeah.
hit all the, you know, we got to hit a lot. I remember we were joking about this on the last podcast, is that a Nickelback show came around when they very first came out, and it was in Oshawa. And we tried so hard to get on that, and like, wow, we can't give you that. Well, we'll give you Rusty, and it was like, okay, well, we'll take. And now just it's so much. You look back at those shows, man, like trying to get shows that way, like just like, can we have this one? You know, we played this one with the Killjoys. Well, you guys are okay, but this is Nickelback, and it was just so
It was
cool.
such an exciting time in Canada, you know.
Right?
It's like, I think people kind of, you know, they kind of, I don't know, we take it for granted because we lived through it, but it really was a very, very hot time of a lot of bands. I remember talking about Edge Fest like after the fact, and at that moment when I was saying Moist and Tea Party and I'm Mother Earth, in that moment, all of those bands had split up. Like, everybody was gone. You know what I mean?
Right.
I remember saying, isn't it weird? Like, all these like amazing 90s bands were just gone. Even the Matthew Good band had become Matthew Good. Like, Matt went solo and all that kind of stuff. So it was really weird. And then, of course, we've seen Moist and the Tea Party's back for a
Sorry,
while.
Todd, a side note, Jeff, the bass player, is my neighbor. I'm like really good friends with him. I
way.
teach his kid art
Moist,
lessons.
yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Please
sorry,
say hi for me. I haven't seen any of the Moist guys in 1,000 years.
Oh, wow.
They
Yeah.
were the coolest guys. I mean, they were like, when they first came out, they were like the darlings of Vancouver. Same for us, where they were getting all the good stuff, and we were kind of like hovering around, going, I hope we can do some of that someday. You know.
Well, I will pass it on to Jeff. I see him, like I say,
Please
like
say
I teach
hi,
his son art lessons, right? Rad little dude,
That's
great family,
awesome.
great people.
I bet.
Todd and Brent, question for you both on coming through that time. So Todd, you know, rolling through with Age, trying to break it. Brent, what was there a point there when you guys were going through? Because Brent, you were in a different path in the 90s. Yeah, you were doing a lot of gigs for a lot of different bands, and you're playing with Karabi. There was all this really cool stuff. So there's a difference between Todd breaking a band and then Brent, you were playing in bands or, and filling in, and also, part of Karabi's first band out of Motley Crue. There's a drastic difference, but both bands had to try to make it.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. You guys kind of came from different spectrums of it. That's
but you also had bands in Winnipeg. So I'm gonna go. Let me start with Fitz for a second. Fitz, the scene in Winnipeg in the '90s, but like you trying to make it as an artist. Where was the moment for you where you're like, I'm gonna do this for a living now because this happened, or this was the moment that hit for me?
I think right now is the moment.
on this podcast, right?
I'm going to do this.
Hold on. I'm bidding on a Fonzie poster.
Oh, you're kidding! we had a guitar player that brought a Fonzie record with him to every show. A Fonzie record. And some 41 stole it from us.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we opened for them in Toronto at the Lee's Palace, and somebody from Some 41.
I love Lee's Palace.
Yeah. Oh, what a great venue, right?
Yeah.
Betsy, what do you think?
Like, all of us geeks, if people are wondering, like, oh, that guy's spending a lot of time on his phone. Yeah, it's probably because we're looking at something nerdy, like
exactly.
Cool purchases.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Jawa with the actual removable cape. I have to buy that one.
That's the true test of your personality is what you see that you're saving on eBay or your Amazon. Save for later.
100%.
Love it.
Okay, so you were asking, speaking of, because you love Brent Donnelly, Motley Crue was your first record. I got to see in 1987 on Girls, Girls, Girls. I had already seen Motley on, this is leading up to my 90s answer. But I saw the Theater of Pain tour, Motley Crue. I saw the next year or 2 years later when they did Theater of Girls, Girls, Girls. But I was working at a music store, a drum shop, and I'd already been teaching there for a while. And I was sort of a go-to, can-do, ambitious young 17-year-old. I started at 15. But that tour came through, Motley Crue came through Winnipeg. Well, they came through across Canada, but they filmed early morning before the Winnipeg show, this little clip that was going to be basically leading up to they were going to Japan next. So they filmed something in Winnipeg with a Japanese interviewer, and they wanted to film it somewhere. So they filmed it in a strip club, and they did this whole setup thing. It was 7 a.m, and I don't know how, but the drum store that I worked for got the call to bring a drum kit in. And everyone I knew in high school that loved Motley Crue somehow showed up at this event.
Of course they did.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird moment because, so what happened was I brought the drum kit to the taping at the strip club. And, I'm 17. I got my van that I brought it in because I was touring at the time and playing on weekends with my little cover band. So I had this van. Anyway, that moment turned into kind of a revelation because I got to see Motley Crue from 3 feet away, even though they were doing like a little clip thing for Japan. They weren't playing live. They were, they blasted, I think it was Wildside they played to. You could see the clip on YouTube. If you look up Motley Crue Winnipeg 87 or something at teasers. But if you can imagine, so I loved Neil Peart. I loved tons of drummers from, that era. And then to see Tommy Lee, who was a huge influence, about 3 feet away from him in this club in Winnipeg, that was sort of like my trajectory of like, okay, I'm doing this for a living. Even though I was already, Todd and I were like, we hadn't met each other yet, but Todd and I and our bands, our cover bands or whatever we were doing, were kind of alive and well. We were like doing it, even though we weren't sure that we were doing it for a living, but we were busy guys as teenagers playing, many nights a week. I remember playing at least always on the weekends.
Paying your dues, man. Good. Yeah.
It was cool, man. So that led into like, after the late 80s and cover bands in Winnipeg. And then in the 90s, so I met Todd when I was in a cover band, Seventh Heaven, and Electric was playing in Winnipeg. I don't know if we met even in Winnipeg or in another city, but our bands
I think it was somewhere else, like probably Edmonton or somewhere like that. I'm not quite sure, actually.
Yeah, so we were sort of on a similar circuit at the time, which was the club circuit.
Yeah.
And the early 90s for me was those bands. But then in about 93, when I joined up with Kenny Shields from Street Heart. So that was a weird thing. Instead of doing my own band, I ended up joining an established band, a local, like basically my heroes. But, Kenny and the guys were much older than I, and I was like the young protege joining that band. So my early 90s experience was like some cover bands and then joining Street Heart, with, you know, Kenny Shields and Streetheart. And then when I moved to California in 96, it was a whole other thing, because then the band I joined, and you mentioned John Corabi, and that was sort of like a baby band, like starting over in a new band that had something to prove, even though there was some guys from, because I was nobody. I'm some guy from Canada, and John is from Motley Crue, and Bruce Kulick from Kiss, and then even Jamie Hunting, our bass player, was from, he'd been with Eddie Money and David Lee Roth. So,
wow.
So, but when I moved to LA, I remember all the bands. Of course, Todd's band was, you know, that was probably the Todd, maybe Remote Control was big on MTV or Much Music in about 95, 96.
No, that would have been Ugly around that time. So 97, 98 would have been
97,
Remote Control.
Okay, well, here's what's interesting is when I moved to LA, I was kind of working for a guy on Sunset Boulevard at a music shop, a Canadian. And we put TVs in the store. It was right across from Guitar Center. And we had Much Music pumped in from a satellite.
Wow.
So I just remember when I moved to LA, there was a lot of cool stuff happening. And Big Wreck was really big around that time.
Sure.
But, you know, I was still seeing a lot of Much Music and all the bands from Canada, even though I'd kind of moved at the end, you know, the scene was really starting to get good in around 90, you know, like 92. It was really like just the serious Canadian scene. And I remember seeing, you know, I even though Todd and I weren't that close as friends, but I saw the trajectory from Ugly. And I remember when we saw that, you know, just to know that a friend of mine had his own video, like it was kind of a big deal. I never made music videos, but Age of Electric made videos, and they were great and they were cool. And actually the one video, Ugly, that was filmed in Winnipeg, I think it's still kind of monumental.
Dude,
hey, Todd?
One shot, right? That's one shot going through everything.
There are 2 edits in it.
Oh, was there?
But it is essentially shot as one, and even the edits are meant to be. Our friend Alex Ponovic, who's now in like Snowpiercer, and he's an actor. He does really well. He's actually in the video, and there's a shot where he goes up to his hand. He kind of does one of these.
Yeah,
and that's one of the edits. Yeah.
Oh,
and then there's another one, and then there's another one later on. So a lot of our friends in Winnipeg at the time have all gone on to do great things. Robin Black is now an MMA announcer, and
God, everyone, there was so many bands at that time. It was crazy. Todd, when you guys, you already had Ugly, but when Remote Control took off, and then obviously there was just such a vibrant scene at that time. And so you guys were like, I mean, we were trying to get on every show. We were trying to get, but there was so many shows. The Moon Room and the Eclipse in Oshawa. There was like Lee's Palace, all these great venues across. But you know, as far as when that hit, was there a feeling of like, oh, I'm gone. Look at me. Oh, I'm back.
Anything's possible now.
Yeah. Was there a feeling that this is going, like this is going to happen now?
It's funny because I tell these stories a million times, but it is funny how.
Oh, then you don't have to answer it. It's fine.
No. I mean, like the interesting thing to me is how Age of Electric had just been kind of like since '89 had been playing little clubs and had the audacity to kind of like go, you know, these are clubs that are built on playing, you know, cover music, top 40. And we were like, had the audacity to slip in a song of ours and another song, and eventually got to a point where we were just doing our own stuff, and kind of like any of the covers we were doing were just things that we like, that were fun to play. It wasn't really being stuck on having to play whatever the top 40 hits were. And every time there was a step up, it was any sort of success was always met with a constant reminder of how, you know, this, you know, your ego was completely in check. So as things started to happen, just the other day, I remember somebody asked me if there was a moment where I remember being in Ontario somewhere, probably like Kingston or one of those towns, and showing up at the sound check, and there were kids waiting to talk to us. Yeah, and I remember that was the first time where I remember thinking like, because Ontario is such a different scene. In Southern Ontario, that whole hang was more like, because Much Music was there and all that kind of stuff. It seemed to resonate in a lot different way, like where Age of Electric probably seemed like this interesting import was coming, as opposed to in the prairies where we were like already established. You know, for better or worse, we had, you know, all of our bruises and all that kind of stuff where they were aware of that as much as they were aware of our successes. By the time you get to Ontario, you're like, this band has a video on TV and they know you. So some of that was, you know, I think some of that was, but it doesn't, it's sort of one of those things where the Canadian music industry was so big at that point. And I just thought of this story when you were talking, because I remember being at Much Music around Remote Control, and David Bowie was there that day. So he was in town. I went to the show, oddly enough, around Earthling. And so him and Reeves Gabriel go in, the guitar player. And it was this weird moment of like, you know, we did our piece, we're walking out and we're standing there talking to somebody. Bowie comes in and he's like, you know, 5 feet away with a group of people around him. And you're like, whoa. And then I go out back of Much Music and there's some kids there waiting, and I signed some autographs, which is always awesome. Well, thank you. We were still like, in those days, it was still like, you want my autograph? Okay, sure. And I remember signing an autograph, and Bowie comes out of the back, gets into a white van, and then I remember him kind of looking over at us. It was like, I think it was me and maybe Ryan, our guitar player. And as he's driving by in the van, I could see him looking out as this kind of bemused, like, who the hell are these guys? Kind of look. And I remember looking at the young girl I was signing an autograph. I go, David Bowie just looked at me.
And she's like, who?
100%. She was like, oh, my mom listens to him, I think. Like, she had no idea who that was.
The Avril
And I
Lavigne,
was like,
David Bowie.
yeah, exactly. And it was one of those moments where I thought to myself, the cool thing about Canada was that these kids all loved Our Lady Peace and I Mother Earth and that was their world, you know what I mean? And I think that that's so exciting that we had that. You know, that was sort of
we do unite, don't we? Like Canadians, I find that we're very tight. I love that.
And before the internet really sort of, you know, brought everything together, it was still very separate. Like the Canadian music scene, I'm sure it's still very much like has its own thing, but back then it was very much its own.
Yeah, you had to put your CD in a yellow envelope and mail it to yourself.
Yeah. So,
Exactly.
I had a question for Brent here. So this is gonna this is gonna predate the 90s. We're gonna go to the 80s. When I was growing up, I had some of the best times in my life listening to. There was 2 CDs. We used to go to this pit, and we'd park our cars, we'd crank the tunes, and the 2 CDs we listened to at this moment in my life was Appetite for Destruction and The Cult Electric, and we would just put them over and over again. So being a drummer, like, you know, I play in a band. The drummer gets to see everything, right? That's one thing I've always loved about the drummers. You're just kind of kicking back. I believe the drummer from Aerosmith, he mentioned he's like a fueling station. Guys come back and you make the eye contact and you go back out. You get to see amazing things in Slash's band. What moment of your live set, if you have one, is like, like, here it comes. This is my favorite part of the night. If you could pick one.
Probably good night, bow. Go back
Like for me,
I just need to clarify. You're asking the other Brent, right?
oh,
Yeah.
so, yes.
Yeah, you're asking the real drummer on this.
So
on this
when you
thing,
play
right.
like your hour set with Slash, dude, what do you have, like a 15-minute moment or a 5-minute moment or a moment where you're just like back to young Brent going, dude, this is what it's all about?
Well, just let's not forget, Chris, because as a drummer, we've looked at a lot of asses over the years.
Right.
That's the problem. As great as it is, you think about the drummer position in a band, but like I've spent so much time looking at the back of so many of my friends and heroes that it's interesting that as when I reflect over time, I've mostly spent looking at Slash from behind. You know what I mean? Like his reflection and lights, or Todd's, or Vince Neil, or Alice Cooper. Like it's a weird spot on stage, even though you're kind of in the driver's seat.
Right? Yeah.
You have this silhouette of a lot of people. Now people come and like Joey Kramer said, they come back and recharge their batteries and vibe off you, but you're kind of in your own zone back there. So I'm thinking about a lot of things.
Okay.
And Todd and I we've spent so much time, just Todd and I together, playing a vamped middle of Rocket Queen.
Yeah.
If we put the hours in together, how much Todd and I have backed Slash on a solo section in that song, I mean, it is a pretty cool thing. But I mean, there's always times when you kind of go, well, it's great to hear like the first time you played in front of a crowd that went crazy and you heard the when Slash say, start Sweet Child of Mine, you know, or when we used to, we didn't do Welcome to the Jungle early on. We didn't do it till later. maybe a year or two in, but
Mhm.
you know, when the initial riff from that kind of the little delay, those are always cool things.
Hey,
I mean,
boys,
maybe that-
I gotta stop for 1 second. I know Todd's got to jump to something. We got a little
Okay.
thing. Brent, we'll come back to this and wrap up the whole show with this in 1 sec. Chris got something for Todd for his birthday, and then we'll send you on your way. We got a little birthday present, and Todd's got to go
So-
do his thing.
Okay, so this is the original copy. Again, I'm a Kiss fan, right? So I drew a picture of you with the dark saber,
What?
but it's got like that Kiss, you know, celestial vibe to it. So
Totally.
I'm gonna send you the original of this, but I'm
What?
also gonna give you a print that says, you know, thanks for being on Kids in the Escalator. And
Ah.
Brent, Mr. Fitz, I didn't know you were gonna be on here till last minute. I'm gonna do one up for you
Nice
as
little
well.
surprise.
That's dope.
Yeah,
It'll
we'll
make
do.
great. It's gonna make a great Toque comic book.
And I would love to. Oh,
Absolutely.
well, this is the thing that bands should. I personally like. You get that mystique going. Like we were talking when you buy a Kiss album, man. You got a book, maybe. The one thing I'm missing, I got to point out, is the tattoos from that album right there. I got the Love Gun. I've got I'm missing the tattoos. The only thing I'm missing, right? But I love that mystique.
I have the Kiss Alive tattoos on my fridge.
Oh my
Like I got 'em.
gosh.
The thing pinned to the fridge. Yeah.
We
They're
ran
brilliant, right?
We ran a little long today, but Todd, my friend,
Okay.
happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
Thanks for
buddy.
coming
Love
on.
you guys.
Thanks
Thanks so
for
much.
coming on. We'll do this again. Fitzy, stay on for a minute. We'll finish this up and we'll get out of here. Todd,
Thanks, guys.
happy
Big
birthday.
love.
We'll
Thank
talk to you in
you.
a while, man.
Bye-bye.
Rock on,
Cheers,
brother.
buddy.
Later.
And then Brent, I'm gonna hook you. Deadly Grounds. I know they're listening right now. I know that one of the guys from Deadly Grounds is listening, and we got to get Brent some coffee. They're gonna send you some coffee.
All the coffee. Brent, back to your story. 1 sec. We'll finish up with that, and then we'll let you get on your way.
Yeah, finish up the Slash story, buddy.
Well, I think I was just saying that, you know, there's been some great moments, you know, hearing like those signature riffs when Slash starts it and you see the crowd reaction. I mean, obviously my first time doing it with that person who wrote the song, and, you know, you've heard the album on your own a million times,
live
and then
one,
you
yes.
actually hear the person who wrote the song play it. You know, like those moments with Alice Cooper, when you hear his voice in your monitors, you know, singing, you know, I Love the Dead or something is pretty awesome. And Vince Neil, when we used to do, I mean, our whole Vince Neil set was greatest hits. So, you know,
Man.
all those great songs. So none of that just gets past me. I'm a kid from Winnipeg.
I know, right, buddy? So what is your favorite Guns N' Roses song to play live?
I used to like My Michelle. I
Oh,
just
yeah,
thought
that's
it was a
good one.
real nasty groove.
Yeah.
And we would try to really, Slash was always very careful about how we placed the you know, because he starts it, right? That mood at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's a little free form rhythmically.
Yeah.
And then when you come in, it's got to be sort of like at the spot already. So, but I've, over the years, figured out a lot of where the tempo should be. So Slash and I have a very good understanding between us of where because it's really about the feel. It's, you know, a lot of, instead of above the waist, the below the waist feel tempo wise. So I always like My Michelle.
Nice, right on. Yeah, it's a great song. Great song. My
We haven't
favorite.
played it for years, but you know, we stopped playing a lot of Gun songs. We played mostly.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
I
Yeah,
saw it
the-
in Australia, and it was only Night Train. That's the only thing that you guys played. Oh, and I think
Oh,
you played.
wow.
I think you played Night Train, which I think you always play still, right? And then, but you used to. Then there was the big solo part. So, anyways, there's a lot. There was, but there was a lot.
I was just jonesing on that
Yeah.
old '90s vibe and stepping like a little before it, kind of thing, right? Just going in the past there with that. But yeah. All the new
I
tunes are
bought
great too.
Appetite in London or Germany. I went on a Europe trip with my high school band. So we
Mhm.
graduated June '88. That summer we went to Europe and played like, I don't know, 4 or 5 different countries. But that was a great year to go and go to Europe, and because I hadn't been there yet to Europe, and I bought all this vinyl. So I bought Appetite for Destruction with the original album cover, the artwork, you know, with the band album. I bought
Brilliant.
a bunch of Kiss stuff with the different S in Germany.
Oh yeah,
I bought Alive. I bought the best of the solo records. Do you remember that album?
Oh,
Which
dude,
could be
yes.
considered a bootleg with the 4 faces on it, but with the
Yep.
different S's. And yeah, I came home with like a dozen records because I got to go to Tower Records in London and then a bunch of record stores all over Germany. And
Wow.
so yeah, and you know, and I think I saw Guns that summer or around then twice because they had just started to come through Canada opening for bands. So they opened for the Cult
Mhm.
on not the Electric Tour, but you know, like '87.
I saw that. No, they came to Toronto. Or was it? No, I saw Guns N' Roses open for Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden.
Iron
Remember Mike? We have a buddy of ours named Mike Bryant he was at that show with Iron Maiden, and he told he told this story about being at the show, and the guy next to him was watching Guns, going, these guys will never make it.
I would actually agree back then. So I saw Guns open for the Cult, and then I think 6 months later, a year, then I saw the Iron Maiden tour. Not that I didn't think they were special, but they really were messy in a special way. And at the time, the Cult were really, really powerful around then. That Electric record, and then when Sonic Temple came out, like
Electric was great.
It was so great. You know what? Les Warner, who played drums on Electric, is a dear friend of Todd's and I, and he lives here in Vegas, and we're good friends with him. We played gigs together, so we have a lot of respect for him.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Anyway, but the Guns N' Roses thing, seeing it twice before they were the biggest band in the world was pretty awesome. And then, of course, seeing Motley Crue many times, seeing Alice Cooper in Winnipeg, seeing Kiss, and I can kind of say now that, and Aerosmith. I played in a band with some form of somebody from those bands. Most of those bands.
Wow, that's a great point, huh? Holy crap!
You get old and you do it long enough, and
milestones, my friend. That's amazing. So, is there somebody out there that you haven't jammed with yet that's still alive that you would love to jam with? Be like bucket list jam guy. Who would you love to back up there, my friend?
Oh, I mean, Beatles are always on everyone's list.
So Paul McCartney,
of course.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool.
Just because I know the catalog and the music, and that would be something where you're standing beside Paul and he's close your eyes and all of a sudden shuffling with him. It'd be so cool.
Have you ever jammed with Ace Frehley?
Yes, I have a couple times.
Wow.
And it was a few different. I think he came up and played with us with Vince Neil once, way back, and then I did a Cat House event in LA in it was early on. Was I playing with Slash? Yeah. And I think I did a super group thing with Sebastian Bach and Gilby Clarke and Ace and all of us.
Dude.
And then I even did a cool thing when I was playing with Gene Simmons about 2 or 3 years ago, where Ace hadn't hooked up with Gene in a while. And we did a really cool, it was actually a charity event out in Minneapolis, and Cheap Trick played and a lot of Minneapolis bands. Nice. But Ace had not played with Gene in a while and came up and played with us. And
I remember that. Oh, you know what?
And even
Lonnie brought that up, and she's like, "Oh my God, look, there's Brent." No, dude, sorry, Lonnie brought that up last week and was like, "Oh my God, look, there's Brent Fitz there." It was like, there was a couple things we were looking at, and you were in there, and it was like, damn, and I believe it was the Gene Simmons gig. That was one of them. That was amazing, dude.
If you look at the internet long enough, you'll see.
Awesome. You're in everything, brother. You're in everything.
He's gonna show up on a sitcom next, so we'll see. Because he gets hired all the time. It's awesome, and he's got some killer people. And the key thing with Brent here in this scenario is that he connects the dots better than anybody I know. So it's awesome. He always, like, everyone, when someone goes to a town and they go, or you go to Canada, "Oh, do you know Steve?" Yeah. Or do you know Brent Fitz? Yeah. It's like, it's one of those things where almost every single rock tour I'm on, somebody.
And we need to mention all the stuff he's done for my school back when it was a huge school. I've shrunken my school a bit, Brent, now because I'm doing the comic book company as well. So I'm actually auditioning students, so we're groovy. But Kingston kids are really cool. But yeah, Brent used to help out and donate so much time to my kids. He jammed. And we should probably post this after. It was Good Times, Bad Times by Led Zeppelin with myself and a bunch of my students, man. It was great. It was great. And anytime he's ever been there, he's given everybody's. You were the favorite guy that came to my school, Brent. Let's just say that. How's that?
Well, guys, you're small town. I'm small town. So we're always going to relate differently. And I think that, the who you know and how we get and connect dots is because we do come from. And usually the smaller the city, the more communal it is, and you get to know everybody. And I'm from the big city in comparison to Port Perry, right?
Yeah.
In a way, Winnipeg is again not a big city in comparison to like Vancouver and Toronto, but that's about what the dot connecting works in my favor is, I think, and your guys too, is when you're from a smaller place, you appreciate and you kind of gravitate to the bigger places instead of, and we always have our small city near and dear in our hearts. But when you're from LA or you're from Vancouver, it's different when you move to the small city, right? Yeah. So I think a lot of that dot connecting is because we
Wow.
learned a lot of things coming from a small.
Well,
And
you
here you are-
reached a
here
lot
you
of
are
the
help-
kids, man. You did, and
Yeah.
they still talk about it to this day. Even though I've shrunken my school down and all that, it's legendary what we did back at my old school, man. And you were a huge part of it. And I do want to thank you and cheers you for it, Brent. Thanks, buddy.
Cheers, guys. Well,
Now,
I mean,
where
I'm a
can everybody
community-
find you online, Fitzy? Where can everybody find you online? Because you're everywhere. Like, you got a list?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm just, Instagram. I'm just Brent Fitz on Instagram. I'm Brent Fitz on Twitter. I'm Brent Fitz on Facebook.
Just
So
Google Brent Fitz, and you're there.
yeah.
And you're still helping. You're still doing the small town, helping guys like us with the pod, just launching the pod and having a lot of fun, man. So
Yeah, man.
appreciate
Super.
you.
I was really stoked to hear you were coming on the show tonight, buddy. It's
Yeah,
good to see. It's
appreciate
good
you
to see you
crashing
again.
Todd's birthday party. We wanted to get into a bunch of different 90s stories, man, which is awesome. So
What did I
Definitely
miss
good
before?
times
Did you
around
guys
here.
talk about Kiss?
Mandalorian.
Talk about
No, we didn't. We went right into it with you, buddy.
I talked to
Went right
Todd
into it.
privately before we went online about the holy grail that he had there, the pinball machine. And we talked Kiss a lot before we went online. Yeah.
Which is it's going to be in the hidden tapes.
Yeah.
Fitzy,
It's a shared love. Music, coffee, it's and we love giving back. We love inspiring young kids. So hopefully there was some young people listening to us today. So that's important
You
too.
got to keep rock and roll alive, right? You know what I mean? Like, my biggest request still in the school for guitar lessons, anything, is AC/DC. And the kids are stoked that AC/DC has a new album out. And that gives me faith, man. I like that. I like that because, as much as people say rock and roll will always be there, no, it won't. You gotta promote it. You gotta teach it to the younglings.
Well, it's always been on the fringe. It's been like that's why it's cool because even though our parents loved whatever their rock and roll was and their parents hated it, so if it was Elvis and then the Beatles and that, and ours was the bands that loved the Beatles and Elvis, which was Kiss and Cheap Trick and all those bands that came after. And all the kids now, I just know both your guys' kids. I don't have kids, so I live vicariously through yours. But I know your kids are inspired by cool music because of you guys. So that's awesome.
True that, my friend.
thanks, Fitzy.
All right,
Yeah,
guys.
buddy. Good to see you again, pal.
Really appreciate it, man. And we'll have you back on down the road when we dive into
Definitely.
some. We still haven't even touched on Van Halen yet, but that's for another day. We got lots
It's a whole lot
to do. Coffee chats coming, Mr.
I'll have
Fitz.
more geeky toys ready for you as well. And
Bitch,
comic
I
books.
love it.
I think the next time we'll get you guys down, we'll do the toy show off. That's a
That's
whole
a good
episode,
idea. I like that.
Yeah.
Are we doing that next week?
I'm down with
doing
that.
We're doing it in an hour.
We got time. There's a lot of time to share our stuff right now.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay. Cheers, guys.
See you,
Appreciate
Brent.
it.
Good to see you.
Thanks,
buddy.
man.
Peace and love,
Bye.
my friend.
Yeah. Same to you.
Well, Chris Machete, that was
was-
an episode, man.
That was a great episode. And man, do I ever have to go to the bathroom?
I know. So, anyways, for everyone watching at home, thank you. That was Todd Kerns' happy birthday from us.
Yeah, happy birthday, Todd. Thanks, Todd. Thanks, Brent. Really good to see Brent again. Like, he's been such a big part of my school
Yeah.
and making it what it was and helping kids. And
We got some things. Our producer Lonnie is really like wanting us to push on some stuff. So number one, hey, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, all the things. We're everywhere on this
Google
stuff.
us, man. You'll find
Google
us.
us, get on there, but subscribe to everything. It makes it easier for us to
Yeah.
go live. Twitch especially, lots of fun stuff coming on Twitch.
bet.
Thanks to Dean Blundell again for hosting us on
Thanks,
his
Dean.
Twitter platform. Everyone that watched today, thank you very much. Todd Kerns, again, happy birthday. Brent Fitz, thanks for coming in, giving us some insight. Mikey P, thanks to the
Happy
Mando.
birthday. And Deadly Grounds. Christopher Bell at Deadly Grounds. Get Brent some coffee, my friend.
Absolutely.
Come
Mike
on.
Pongratz,
He thinks you're
thanks,
from
buddy.
Hamilton. You guys are in Oshawa. Thanks, Mike.
and I love coffee. Send me some coffee too.
Deadly
Bye,
Grounds.
everybody. We'll see you next
Bye.
week. Bye.
All right, Lonnie, we're good.